How you doing? Audio mode number 4. You like to move it, move it. Tap mode out there in the zone behind the microphone. Day 4 in this November month-long challenge. You're posting something every single day. That's right, kids. So, how y'all doing? Hopefully everyone enjoyed that extra hour of sleep in the areas that pay attention to that whole daylight savings time thing. But is it really 11:15 or is it really 10:15? Well, the answer to that, it is really 11:15, at least in Eastern Standard Time Zone, whatever it is, wherever you are. But the entire body clock will still feel like it's 10:15. That's what happens the day after the time change. Everybody will be looking, seeing it's 11 o'clock-ish, but their body will really be in a 10 o'clock type mode. So there you go. So hey, what do you know? Happy Sunday. Sundays are the National Football League. You can tell. NBA has 4 games today. 4. Well, why is that? Might be the NFL, and everything's rumbling around Calvin Johnson and the knee and the wrap, and everything sounds so far like he's looking good. So I'm like to myself, yeah, you got to start him. You got to start him. You got to start him. And if he just has a subpar week again, this point forward, I'm going to ignore all of the prognosticators. I'm going to ignore all of the fantasy football experts. And Megatron's being benched. He is. His butt is being benched. And of course, what am I talking about? Fantasy football. That's right. Fantasy football. And you're going, okay, what is fantasy football? Well, fantasy football is like you get together a bowling league. You get together a league, but it's folks who like to play fantasy football. And how that begins is that you have a draft. And based on the number of teams you have, based on the number of people in the league, and average is usually 10 teams. Sometimes you can have 12, 14, 16. 16 is really, 14 to 16, really what's called a deep league, meaning players go by quickly, because then after you get everyone together, you usually have it online. Some places, like a Yahoo and ESPN or CBS Sports line. Then you set the date, then you have the online draft. It's done in a snake format. And based on the number of teams, we'll just use a 10-team league as an example, because that's usually the average team in a league. Then players are assigned, they become the owners of the fantasy football team, are then assigned to one of those 10 slots, 110. You never know which it's going to be. Could be slot number 1, yay, booyah. Could be slot number 10. Not bad, but that means you get to pick twice right away. But then you have to wait for a real super amazingly long time. Then they do a snake draft format going 1 through 10, and then 10 back through 1, and it goes around for several rounds because you're picking quarterback, you're picking quarterbacks, you're picking wide receivers, you're picking running backs, you're picking tight ends, and you're picking kickers and team defenses, because in most fantasy football leagues, you start a team defense / special teams, and it'd be the Bears, D/ST. In case you've ever seen somebody's fantasy football team, you're like, what is that whole DST thing? I mean, that's defense / special teams. It's all into one group. No, some leagues like to do what's called IDP, or individual defensive players. So instead of that defense, that team defense, like you select individual offensive players, you select individual defensive players. Woo boy, I even saw that, can't be many, but a scant few leagues also select individual offensive line. Oi, Ooh. Number 1, how do you score that? Number 2, how do you figure out who to start every week? That would be based on matchups, probably. Probably that would solely be based on matchups. But anyway, it's fantasy football, and then, although it's something that not done down in Florida here, but a lot of short-term investment brokering going on, as Cowboys W. Des Bryant is apparently in pain and doing a lot to push himself to play today despite a hip injury. Okay, so it doesn't have anything to do with team violations. That's to do with, holy crap, that hurts violations. And one of the other fun things that everybody likes to do with football is what's called a pigskin pick'em type deal football pool. Sometimes for money, sometimes not for money. And by the way, for fantasy football, in case you're wondering, oh, isn't that illegal? I actually saw in a while back that the U.S. government has ruled that fantasy football is a game of skill and not a game of chance. Because if you pay attention to everything, you can still do good. Maybe not like yours truly, who's last place looking up. Yeah, pretty much every league. Everything is based around players, how they do, what happens when you start, when you sit, and sometimes no matter how much you research into it, you make the wrong call. It just happens. It does. Sometimes that you have like one player who beat another player in one of my leagues in a 14-team league by, are you ready? A victory point margin of .07 last week. That's why fantasy football is insane. It is. And looking at some of the first 20 picks from some of the top 40 bookies in Vegas, and this is actually available on pregame.com. You can download it. I also put it on the Sports Shuffle page, just because it's Sunday, so that's why this is sports heavy, per se, because I've tried to challenge myself to get away from sports, but when it's Sunday, can't wait to highlights. Ooh, how are these guys doing this? Those guys, and Buccaneers my Buccaneers are going up against the Oakland Raiders. I think the Bucs have a chance to win that game. I predicted. That's why I take the word production and I turn it into predicted. I predicted the Bucs going 2-2 next 4 games, starting with this one. We'll see how that works. But just looking at some of the early picks here from the first 20 for the KC San Diego minus 8.5 point spread. So that's meaning that they think that the San Diego Chargers are going to beat the Chiefs by 8.5 points at least. And when you ever have a 0.5 in there, that always makes it tricky. So even if you're doing a for fun contest, and they win by 8, but not by 8.5, you never know if that's going to be considered a loss or a push. So you never know, and it's always fun. Let's see. How long have I been yakking for since I'm just... Okay, not quite 10 minutes, but just about there. But anyway, some of the interesting early with the KC Chargers. Chargers are... that was actually played. That was that horrible Thursday football game that I watched. That was horrible. And most of the people seem to be split down the middle. You have as many Kansas City Chiefs as you do Chargers, so that's how bad both of those teams sucked. But ultimately, of course, the Chargers won fairly handily, and they owned the pathetic Chiefs. Denver and Cincinnati going on. That split, you see as many, I don't think that so far for the first one, you see as many Denvers as you see Cincinnati. Green Bay and Arizona, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's split halfway. 10 for Green Bay, 10 for Arizona. That's kind of surprising. That is. Miami, 9.5 is the spread. Green Bay is what's known as the favorite. Then you get Miami and Indianapolis. That one, I think more people in Indy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 out of 20. Think the Colts. Baltimore and Cleveland, 2 small lines. Miami minus 2.5, Baltimore 3.5. Baltimore has out of 21, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, 14 out of 20, not surprising. It's against the Cleveland Brownies. Buffalo and against Houston. This is how many Houston. Houston 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Only 3 people out of the 20 think Buffalo has a chance in that. Yeah, Carolina against Washington. Washington as the favorite, so Carolina has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Only 8. 8 out of 20 think that Carolina has a chance in heck. Detroit against Jacksonville, of course, with Calvin Johnson and the Rat Knee. Detroit with minus 3.5 favorite. Detroit, well, so you see how many people think Jacksonville. Jacksonville, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Only 5 out of 20 think Jacksonville has a shot in heck. Chicago against Tennessee. Chicago's the favorite. How many people think Tennessee have a chance to win? A couple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's split down the middle. That's half. Minnesota against the Seahawks. Russell Wilson. Can he beat Russell Wilson again? Seahawks minus 3.5. So how many people think Minnesota after Tampa Bay showed them who their daddy was? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 out of 20. 4 out of 20 going for Seattle, and Tampa Bay dominant over Oakland. Check this out. Out of 20, Oakland Raiders, a 2.5 Oakland favorite. Oakland is the favorite, probably because they're home. They think, well, Tampa has to travel over there. Oakland, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 out of 20. That's how many people don't think that. Boom. There you go. Here's an interesting fact from RJ in Vegas. If you had simply bet $1,000 on every underdog this NFL season, you'd be up over 19K. Interesting little statistic there. Pittsburgh and New York Giants, of course. Giants having been residents of New York and dealing with the entire Hurricane Sandy thing. And then you also have Pittsburgh, too, who was coming, wasn't able to find a hotel at all. And so they're staying in New Jersey as opposed to New York. So that's got to rattle them a little bit. So how many people think that the underdog Pittsburgh Steelers have a shot to win? Out of 21, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Not bad. More than half. Dallas and Atlanta. Atlanta the favorite. Dallas the underdog. How many people think Dallas? Dallas 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Starting again. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9, 10, 11, 12. More than half for Dallas, kids. More than half. And then Philly and New Orleans. Mike Vick, still a quarterback in Philadelphia. New Orleans, very small. I think that's got to be, no, that's one of the two because there's another 2.5 Miami. Minus 2.5. Philadelphia, allegedly the underdog. How many people think Philly? Philly 1. New Orleans, New Orleans, New Orleans, New Orleans, New Orleans 2. 3, 4. 4 out of 20 think Philadelphia. So that gives you an idea about how the bookies, and you can find that over at pregame.com, their forums, as I didn't break down all 40, but I figured, okay, let's just take a small sample size. Let's look at 20. Because this is Sunday. This is football, folks. So here's hoping your fantasy team wins. Here's hoping your team, my team, the Bucks, go Bucks, do their thing out on the field. And here's hoping all of you have a fantastic day indeed. Oh, and apparently there was some super secret meeting for the National Hockey League last night. But apparently nothing super secret happened of it because I haven't seen any super secret updates. Because I'm sure if something would have happened of a positive nature, Twitter would be blown up right now. I mean, it would be. It would just be. It would be a popping. It would be popcorning. It would be a social media singularity. Well, I don't know. It's hockey, so I don't know if that could be a social media singularity or not. But anywho, that's it for me. Thank you for listening to this definite sports edition. But hey, it's Sunday, 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 Sunday. And I'll talk at you next time. MG to the O, to the N, to the E with the No Frills edition today. Ciao.